Welcome to this tutorial video. In this video, I want us to learn about how to build a to-do application using Inertia, Laravel, Vuejs, and then for our user interface, we are going to use the quasar framework. This application that we are having here is something that I did in another video, and probably every video that I have on the quasar framework, I'm going to include in a single playlist. I want us to go ahead and talk about what the quasar framework is. And the quasar framework is a Vue.js framework that can assist developers to build cross-platform applications. That is, applications that can run in the web, that is web applications, mobile applications, desktop applications, and so on and so forth. And it has very nice user interfaces. Now this template that we have here is a Laravel application in which I did create in a previous episode, and we actually created and enriched this specific place. So I would like us to modify whatever it is that we have here, and then we be in a position to use this to be able to create our to-do application. So just to be able to give a little bit of perspective, I would like to delete each and everything inside here in this, and this file is home.vue and it is located inside resources JS pages inside here. That is where we have home.vue. So I would like to delete everything, and then not the page itself, delete everything that is inside here, and I'm going to just have template tags like that. Obviously, I will be using Vue.js composition API, whereby we use the script setup, and I will include it above here. But if I include it and I have nothing inside it, it will throw for us an error. I also want to change the name of this file. So in this case, I'm going to rename, and we are going to call it to do. And of course, just to mention, the template for this application I have attached in the description, and also if you followed the previous tutorial that I had, we are beginning exactly immediately after that tutorial. So I've changed this one to do, I've changed this to template. I also want to go to the place where we did our routing and modify something. Of course, we will change it even more, but for now, let me just have it as to do, like that. And then I want us to refresh and see that now our application is showing nothing, is actually blank. So I want us to go ahead inside our todo.vue. I want us to be able to add some code here and display the user interfaces using quasar. So for us to be able to begin, we will need a div with a class of q, and q just is a quasar, and then we can be able to add a padding of medium like that. So that is what that means. And then inside here, I want us to use q layout. And Q layout basically is the placeholder for the entire page. So your page must always have Q layout because it's the one that holds the header, even the footers, and even the page body. Now, since we want to first of all work on the head section, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add Q header. But before I do that, inside the layout, we usually have a view. This one is important for me to mention, even though we are not going to use it in this episode. So let me put HHH and then L small p capital R and then LFF. And let me just explain that briefly, what that means. If you go to the quasar framework website, so this one is quasar.dev, and you open the documentation, and then you go to layout, maybe we can, yes, it's here. We go to layout, and I want us to just look at what it is that we have here. So you can see the layout will contain the header and footer, will contain a drawer, and the drawer is whatever it is that we have on the sides here. So sort of like the sidebars on both ends if you want. And then of course we also have the sticky page, the scroller, and so on and so forth. But I want to talk about something that I've just mentioned there. The page, in this case, the layout looks something like this. So we have the header, we have the footer, and we have the sidebars. And now you can see what I have typed is H, small h, and then small h on this other side, like that. That is the first row. And then the second row, I think I have typed what? I have typed LPR, so capital L, small p, capital R, something of that sort. And that what that means is that these drawers will be there entirely. When you refresh the application, they'll be there. They will not require you to click something to show them. But when you click maybe a button here, you'll be able to hide them. But that is not what I'm going to deal with. And then FFF means now all the footers will be able to be attached. But of course, what I have typed is LFF. So in this case, if I type L, now what it means is that on this side, this drawer should go all the way and cover the footer when it is shown. And since it is fixed, so this is sort of how our application will be displaying. So I actually think I should modify that to FFF entirely like that. So let me just change this and add an F here. After that, I want to have the header, so Q header, and this is where we are going to place our toolbar. And the toolbar is sort of like the navigation bar that appears above there. So of course the next thing that I'm going to put is our toolbar. So I'm going to have Q toolbar like that. And now if I'm to save, if we check our application, now we have a toolbar. But let me just show you something. If I'm able to delete this toolbar and save, then there's nothing that is showing on our page. So every other thing that we have here is sort of like some kind of formatting. But then let us go ahead and place our toolbar here. And then save. So now we have a nice toolbar, sort of like where we can be able to put our navigation. The next thing I want us to do is to have an icon, in this case a menu icon, the one that when somebody clicks, maybe it can be able to show the draw and hide it. But in this episode we are not going to work with a draw. So let me go ahead and do that. So here I'm going to, maybe before we have the avatar, so here I'm going to have Q button. So I'm going to open that and say Q BTN, and this is what you use to maybe show a button. And what I want to do is to give the conditions for our button. So I want the button to be flat, and I want it to be round and dense, and I want it to be to have an icon of a menu, and then I want it also to have a class of and what we are going to have for the class, we can have Q margin right, and then we want to have it being small like that. And I want to just close it like this, that way. So that is how we will close it. Let me just extend this such that you can be able to see everything that we have here. And because I have saved, let us see what we have. Now you can see we have some nice icon that is even clickable. We can be able to even put a handler when we click it. I want us to go ahead and put an icon here, sort of like an avatar. So for us to be able to have the avatar, we are going to use Q avatar, Q hyphen avatar, like that. And this you'll be able to place for us our avatar. And what I want to do is to just go to the quasar framework page, and I just want to look for an avatar somewhere and be able to place it there. So here we do not have an avatar. Let me check if we can be able to find it in one of these layouts. So let me open this, and so that one is layout drawer, and this one doesn't have an avatar. This one doesn't have an avatar. Let me check the layout itself, because we might be having an example. Even this one doesn't have. Let me just open this the layout builder, and then I'll be able to just copy that. It's just a link to whatever it is that I'm looking for. I have clicked on layout, header and footer. Yes, I'm just looking for this one. So I want to just copy the link only, so the image source. And of course, if you want to put your own avatar, you can be able to just find one from wherever you want to find it and place it there. So now if we go back and check our layout, you can see it's displaying very nicely. I want us to have a title here, so I'm going to put it inside a button, such that if, let me say, you decide to make it a link in your navigation bar, you can be able to work with it like that. So I want to have another Q button after that, Q btn, and I want it to be flat, and I want it to have a label. In this case, our label is to do app, like that, and I'm going to close it that way. When we save it, if we go back and check, now we have to do bar, and you can see it's clickable. There's something that it does once somebody decides to click on it. Because we are done with the header section, I want us now to go to the other section, which we are going to call the page container. So after the header, I would like to just create some space here, and then here we are going to have our container. So what I'm going to do is have Q hyphen page, like that. But before we have the Q page, I want us first of all to have the container, because I had mentioned that. So here we have Q page container, Q page container, like that. And then inside the Q page container, I want us to have Q page, and I want to give a class to the Q page. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a class of home hyphen page row, home hyphen, I'm typing outside, home hyphen page row, and I can also justify hyphen center, and this is, I'm just putting the items at the center. So we will have a card, and this card will be the one that will be having our to-dos and also the list of the to-dos. So you have items center, like that. You close that class. After that, I want us to have a card. Obviously, if we save this and check, it's basically virtually nothing that you can be able to see. But I want us to continue and now have a card. So what we are going to have is q-card, like that. And this one, I want us to give it a class of q padding of medium again. And then we are going to call it, to have also a class, we call it my card. And then we can be able to set it as flat, and we can have it as bordered, like that. So if we are to refresh, I guess we have a card, but it's somewhere in the middle because it has no content. So let us go ahead and put some content into our card. So I want us to have Q card section. So in a card you can have several sections. And I want us to have H3 here, H3 tag. And I want to call it my to-do application, like that. When I save, if we go back, now this is how it displays. Not bad. After that, I want us to have an input, and this is the input that we will be using to submit our to-dos. So I'm going to have Q input, and then we can be able to just close it, and then I'm going to add some properties here. So the first property, we can be able to add an attribute that is field. And of course, instead of typing everything, you can just go here and scroll and find a nice button and go to view components, and then scroll downwards and find an input, so form input, and click here and then scroll down here. I'm just showing you how to use this page. Then scroll down, you have very many inputs here, very different kinds of inputs. You can be able to copy one, and if you want to copy, you can just click here such that it's viewable, and then you copy paste in your application. Let me just try and attempt and type. So an input, you must have vModel property, and then after that we also have a label, and then after that we can be able even to have to make it stack hyphen label, such that it will be, the label will be above our input somewhere. And then we can also be able to handle the errors and the error messages. For now, let me just give this a label of to do, like that. And view model, it seems it wants us to write something. So let me just write something to do. But we will be able to modify with the time. So it says to do does not exist. Can I remove the vim model first, such that we do not get the errors? I want us to go and see if it's displaying. If it's not displaying, I'll be forced to. Yes, we have our form and it's displaying nicely. So I also want us to have a submit button before I begin working on this to do. I will give it a vim model. So in this case, I am going to do that in a short way, but what I want us to do is to have a button here, and a button, of course, we will do it in a similar way as we have done previously. So qbtn, and then of course even this one you can be able to go and search. There are very many button components that you can be able to copy and use. And this one I want to give it a color of primary, and then we can give it a label of add to do, like that, and then we can close it that way. So basically that is that. As you can see, we have it like that. They're a little bit held together, but to me it doesn't bother me. You can be able to find a way in which you can be able to have some sort of space. So now I want us to work on the functionality of this button and be able to submit a to-do to the Laravel backend such that we can be able to save it. Let us go ahead and do that. I want us to, above here, have the script tag. And in this case, we are using script setup. So you can have it above here or maybe below, but I prefer this place, script setup. And inside here, what I want us to do is first of all import a form from Inertia. So in this case, we can say import. There is a helper for forms that is called use form, like that, from, and then we can choose Inertia view 3. And of course, this form is what we are going to use to submit our form. So let me use it. So we can say const form, and then we can say is equals to, and then we can have use form. Now you can see it's active because now we are using it. You have those ones, and what I'm going to have here, I'm going to have to do, and I'm going to set it to null, like that. So going back to our input where we were receiving an error when we were putting the Vim model, here I want us to go ahead and be able to have Vim model, and we are going to set its value to form dot to do, like that. So in other words, what we are saying, we want the value that is stored inside this constant called form, the value that is called to do, and of which the initial value we are setting to null. After that, I want us to also be able to handle the errors that you be displayed from the Laravel end if we have issues with our form. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to handle the errors here, and we are going to handle them dynamically. So what I'm going to do, we are going to have error. I'm going to just have error, and I can be able to bind the error. So we can have something like a vbind, but obviously in I want to put it before here. We can have something like vbind error, but in Vue you know that we can be able to use the shorthand. So in this case, I want our error to be called to do error, like that. And then we also need to pass in the error message. So we can have error, we will also bind it, error hyphen message. And this one, I'm going to get whatever it is that Inertia will give us inside the define props error. So in this case, I can just say errors dot to do, like that. So now I need to set the property for errors. So here I'm going to also add something. Whenever we are communicating between our Inertia application and the Laravel backend, we usually have properties that are usually sent to us. And one of them is a property that is called errors. So I want const props is equals to define props like that, and we are going to have it that way. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to look for errors, and these errors are an object like that. I will save, so that will be able to handle the error issue for us. And now I want us to look at how we can be able to submit a to-do once we type in here. So I want to, on our button, we can be able to add a click handler. So here I'm going to just have at click, and then we can have submit. Let me just space a bit. Yes, I think I have an issue. Let me just, yes. So we space it a bit. So we can have at click. And once we click here, I want us to hit a method called submit, like that. So now when we click this, it should hit a method called submit. We need to create it. So inside inside script setup, we just say function, like that, and the name of the function submit, like that way. So now what I want us to do, I want us, when we hit that button, we alert 1, 2, 3, like that, just to show that everything is working perfectly. So I'm going to refresh. Of course, we are using hot reload, so the changes are already captured. If I click here, you can see 1, 2, 3. So we are actually able to submit whatever it is that we type here. In fact, I can be able to alert the object that is inside the form, but for now, let us just see how we can be able to submit this, even though, of course, we have not been able to work on the things that are supposed to be worked on the Laravel backend. So here we can have router.post, that is submitting, and then we can have, we are posting to a method called to-dos, like that. And then we are also adding in the form that way. So once you do that, then you're able to have posted your form. And also, I want us to just put a comma and be able to handle success. So in this case, once this submission has gone successfully, we can be able to return some information back to our user. So in this case, what I'm going to have curly braces. And inside here, I can even be able to reset our form, among other things. So let me just work on resetting the form dot reset, and then we are resetting the to-do input, or the to-do value. But let me just modify a bit, because I'm supposed to access on success, not like this. So we are supposed to have on success, and then we will have this full colon, and then we are going to have the arrow function like this. This is where we are going to handle it, not the way I had. So here we can have form dot reset, and we are resetting the to-do input. So form dot to-do, like that. And then of course we can be able to do a little bit more than that. I do not, yes, because of the arrow. I was wondering why we have an issue, but now, yes, because of the arrow. So this one can be able to handle our success, and of course afterwards I'll be able to handle a notification here and be able to show our users what has happened. Now for us to be able to save this to our database, I need to open terminal and create a model and a controller. So we are going to open terminal, and inside here I want to run the command. We are going to run the command php artisan make model, and our model is going to be called to do. And then I want it to create model migration and also a controller that is a resource controller. So what I'm going to type in is MCR, and I'm going to press enter. We have been able to create a model, migration, and controller. So let us modify those ones. So I want to begin with a modification of the model. So we will go to app models, to do, and here I want us to have protected fillable to allow mass assignment. And then we are going to have to do. We just call the name of our to do. And then I want us to also have completed, like that. So those two. So we will check whether to do is complete or not once a user checks against it. I want us to go to the folder called database migrations. And here I want us to be able to create several migrations, actually 2 of them. So in this case, the first one is a string, and what we have here is to do. The second one is table, and the data type is Boolean. And then inside here, I want us to have completed. And we can have default as 0. So if it's completed, we will change it to 1, like that. So now I want us to go ahead and in our controller be able to handle saving of this to do that is created. So we open HTTP controllers, to do controller, and in this method, in the store method, I want us to be able to store our to do in this case. So what we are going to do, I'm going to just validate. In this case, we can say validated, like that. Will be given by request, and we can say validate. And then inside here we have an array of values. I'm going to set to do. Because we are setting a default value, it's not a must for us to be able to say that it's not completed. So this one I'm going to say required, and I want it to have a maximum of 255, just in case somebody types something that is a little bit more than that, to be able to give an error here and not break our application and not give an error from the application. So what I want us to do to save this, I'm going to do create, and in this case I can just pass in validated, like that. And then after that, I think that will be it. So we have been able to save our to do. I want us to be able to create a controller. To create a route for our controller. So in this case, we are going to have route resource, because we have created a resource controller, and I want us to have to do's, and then here we are going to just have to do, is it called to do controller? Let me see. Yes, to do controller, like that. I will close that. Obviously, I'm supposed to import the controller above here. So what I'm going to say is use app http controllers, and then to do controller like that. I save that. So now we can be able to access our to-dos here. Even this method here, I want to remove it. So I'm going to delete this one. It is the one that is loading for us our page. So now I believe we might even be having an error, but I want to load that method from our index function. So here is where I want us to have inertia full colon render, and then we are going to pass to do. I think that is what we have called our yes, like that. We have called it to do the application. And for us to be able to use inertia render, we must import it here. So we can say use inertia like that. After that, I want us to refresh, and it says undefined to do controller app http controllers to do controller. I do not know what could be the issue. Yes, it's supposed to be to do controller class. I have done a mistake, so I'm going to change this and be able to pass class like that. Now when we refresh, it says not found. So to do is to do controller, not to do controller. Yes, so I can be able to just pass in let's just have it like that. And then now if we are visiting, now we will not visit localhost 8000. We are going to visit to-dos like that. And still we are having an issue. I don't understand. We're having an issue, and I do not understand why that is the case. Let me just try and check. In console we have nothing, and here we also have nothing. So inspect, we just have HTML and body. I do not know what has happened there. So to do.view pages, to do.php, then to do controller, and here we are having our method. Yes, I'm supposed to return it. So return inertia. Yes, like that, not the other way around. Now it will display. So if I refresh, now we have our to-do application. So we have already worked on saving, and before we save a to-do, I want us to also modify our env file, and we will scroll downwards up until where we have the env, and here I want to have a database that is called quasar to do like that. Let it just be as a continuous string like that. Now I want us to do our migration. We are going to run the command php artisan migrate, and this you create for us. Yes, it's asking us if quasar to do exists. We are going to tell it to create it. So we are going to say we would like to create it. I'm going to type y for yes, and you have been able to create our database tables. And now I want us to go back to our to-do component and be able to just handle how we can be able to show the errors above here. So let me just extend, or maybe, yes, we can just extend it. And then I want us to use quasar notify. There is a package that is called quasar notify is what I want us to use. And for us to be able to use it, we must first of all include it in app.js. So down here where we have plugins is where I want us to have it. So it's actually a plugin, not a package. So what we are going to do, we are going to have it here. And what I'm going to do is just to type in notify, like that. And once we have our plugin set, I can be able to go ahead and use this notify plugin, and we are going to use it here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to import and since when we go back to our app.js, if we are to scroll upwards, we actually do not have the quasar notify, but let's just continue and see what's going to happen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to import quasar, import quasar. Use quasar, like that, from quasar, that way. And then I'm going to instantiate it by labeling it to a constant. So we're going to have const, and I'm going to just call it $Q, and we are going to have use quasar, like that, and that will be able to instantiate it. So now I want us to go to our notification after we have saved a new to do. I want us to notify. So inside our own success helper, we can be able to do the notification here. So what I'm going to do is to say q dot notify, and inside here you can be able to pass several things. You can pass a property called message. In this case, I have a message that I would like to pass to my user is that to do has maybe the to do has been created successfully, like that. Going to put an exclamation mark. The other thing that we can be able to pass in this notify method, we can be able to pass the caption. And for the caption, maybe you can say maybe the time when this notification was done. It's not important for what we are doing, but let me just put something here. We can say 1 minute ago, the time for when this notification was done. Of course, you separate them using commas. And then the last thing that we have that is important is color. And you can be able to set whatever color you want. I want it to be success, so I will call it positive. That is the color that you give us something as a notification that looks green or something of that, so to show that we have a successful sort of like response in this case. I am having that our application is not working because there's nothing that is displaying. It means there is a place where we have issues. And to check the console, we're having notify is not defined. notify is not defined, and I think probably it's an error that is coming from our app.js, I believe. And so let us go there and attempt to fix that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to import notify above here. So what I'm going to type, I'm going to just type import quasar, and also I'm going to put a comma here, and also notify, like that. And I think this will solve our error. Nice. So we are having everything looking okay. And then we have to do error was accessed during render but not defined during instance. I want us to see how we can be able to pass the error. And I think what we are going to do is just get it from our defined props. In this case, these props that we have here, the ones that have the error, these ones here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a computed function here, which I'm going to call to do error. So const to do error, and I'm going to have a computed function. And inside here, we are going to have if, so we are looking whether the props exists. In other words, if there is any error. So here I'm going to say if props, and props, whatever it is that we are referring to as props, there is a constant here that we have defined. So we are looking inside the errors. So if props dot errors, so if there is any error, in this case, in simple terms, that is what we can say. And we can check another condition, that the props dot errors dot, in this case, to do. So the errors belonging to do. So if those errors exist, then we can be able to return true. So what we are doing is that we are setting the value of to do error, which is what we have somewhere inside our Q button. I mean inside our input, this one here, we are setting it to true. So if we set it to true, then it will display an error, in this case that there is a validation error that has failed. I want us to try and see. We are having issues. Again, let me try and check the inspector and see if where we are having issues, computed is not defined. That one is okay because it's very simple to solve that. So here from view, we can import computed. So import computed from view. And that will solve our error. Now we are having it like this. So if I'm to refresh, now we have no errors here. I would like to attempt to submit this thing that is showing up. I would like to attempt to submit without adding a to do. And now you see it says to do field is required. But remember, this error is actually being set on the Laravel backend, whereby we are doing the validation. And then we are displaying it here. And of course, you can see that we require to have a to do. I want us to type something and then see what happens. So go to the market. When I click add to do, now you can see it's added, but we also have a notification here that says the to do has been created successfully, which shows up for a while and then disappears. I want us to list our to dos below here. That is what I would like to do right now as we continue. So I want us to have a queue list. So in this case, we want to have a queue list here, and this queue list, I think I'm not going to create it. I want us to just scroll and see where we have list and list items, this one here, and I want to just copy what we have in one of the examples. And I think we can pick this basic one, the one that is a single line, because I do not intend to write the whole of it. And actually what I need to do is just pick one queue item, and then we will modify it accordingly. So let me just copy this one, but it's supposed to be inside queue list bordered. So I'm going to copy queue list. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste it after where we have add to do inside the card section. So just here I'm going to paste it. So we have queue list bordered separator, and then inside here I just want to have one of the list items. Even if I require to copy the others, I mean to have more than one, we can be able to do that one just here. So we have the queue list item, and in this case we are having a section and all that. So let me just move this to be able to look a little bit nicer. Now if I'm to refresh, now you can see we have item with caption. So this is the place where I want to get our to-dos and be able to display them. And for us to be able to bring our to-dos to this place, I want us to go to our controller, in this case to do controller, and then I'm going to add it to the index method. So I want to, as we are returning the to-do, I want us to pass an array of values here. So I'm going to have a comma, and then we can be able to have the square brackets, whereby I will have to-dos. So that is the value that I'm giving it, and then we are going to get the to-dos, and I'm going to get them in this format, to do, and then I'm going to order. I'm not just going to get them anyhowly. I want the ones that have not been completed to be arranged first, and then the ones that are completed to be arranged last. So I'm going to have order by, in this case I want us to order by completed, and then I want it to be ascending. In this case 0 will be the first, and then the others you follow, and then of course we can chain get like that. I will save, and then of course we need to accept our property, the to-dos property. We need to accept it inside our to-do.view. And how do we accept it? We go inside our errors object and we add something else. So I will put a comma, and I'm also going to add to-dos, and this one I'm also going to have it as an object, just like that, and that will be able to bring the to-dos to our application. Now I want us to list the to-dos here. So what I'm going to do is inside our queue list, because we have the item, I'm going to remove the item label. Can I yes, let me remove this one, because I think this one displays small letters. I want to remain with just the first one. So inside our queue list I can be able to have a for loop. In this case we can have a for each loop. So in this case we can have v4, and then I can say open brackets to do and we can have a comma and have index. So we are having the to do and we are also setting the index in to do's like that. And then we can also be able to bind the key. So here I can be able to bind the key and say key is to do dot id like that. And then inside here I want us to display our to do. So what I'm going to type in here is to do, inside curly braces, to do dot to do like that. And now you save. Now if I'm to refresh, now you can see go to the market, the to do that I created, the first one, so it's there. So if I add another one, maybe fetch water, I'm giving myself very funny to do's, and when I click it, now you can see we have go to the market and fetch water already displayed, and that is nice. I want us to have a radio button here, and then I also want us to have a delete button here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have another sort of like section. So in this case I can above here have Q item section, Q hyphen item hyphen section, and then inside here is where I want us to have our radio button. So what I'm going to do is maybe I can just have Q item, because we have the section here. Maybe we can just have it inside here. I think that will be okay, instead of having another section. Let us just have it inside here. So let me remove this, it's no need, but I will consider depending on how it looks. So if it looks bad, I'll be able to create another section. So inside this section I want us to have Q radio, and then of course we will close it like that. And I want us to have several things, of course the size. So I can say size, and there are many sizes. There is small, there is extra large, there is large, and so on and so forth. I'm going to set it to extra large, and then I'm going to also have v model, and here what I'm going to pass is to do dot completed. So in this case, inside our to-dos we have a value that is called completed, which we are setting to either 0 or 1, and that we have already set in the database. And then also I want us to have value, and we are going to bind the value, so val, and this one I'm going to set to again to do dot completed. And then on top of that we can have a label. I don't see the reason why a label is necessary. I want us to have to check if our to-do is completed or not, and then we can be able to check our icon depending. So we will put a tick if the to-do is completed, in other words if it has a value of 1, and then we will put we will just leave the radio button like that if it's not like that. So what I want us to do is we can bind checked hyphen icon. So we want to put the icon that we want the viewer to see when the button is checked, and here I'm going to just say to do dot completed is equivalent to 1 or is equals to 1. And what I want to do, if that is the case, I want to have an icon that is task alt. That is the icon that I want it to show. And then if that is not the case, I want it to put another icon which I'm going to call panorama fish eye in this case. So our icon will look like that. So I'm going to have panorama, and we are using material icons, panorama fish underscore eye, like that. And that condition is okay, but I want to add a little bit more so I can be able to move it downwards like that. And I also want us to set when it is unchecked. So we have set a value when it is checked. I also want us to set a value when it is unchecked. So we are going to bind unchecked icon. And this one we are going to check if to-do.completed is 0 or has a value of 0. And here we are going to have the panorama fish eye as our icon. And then so panorama underscore fish underscore eye, like that. And we are going to set the alternative. If it's not 0, then we can be able to have the task alt, task underscore alt. These are icons, or in other words, the presentation in which we can have in our to-dos. So let me refresh. And our icon is not showing perfectly, so I need to do some changes to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy it and place it in its own item section now, not inside here. So let me just copy it. Let me copy it from here. I'm going to cut, and then maybe we can have it, but then inside queue item like this. So queue item like that, such that it's on its own. So let me paste it here and check again how it's displaying. Again, not showing well. I want to move it outside and put it in its own section. Queue item section. Let me just check why we are having issues with this one. Let me attempt and move the V4. And to move this one, V4 to do in to-dos and key to do ID, and to cut the whole of it. And I want to place it inside a queue item. So that is where I want it to be, not where it is. So I want to place it here. There, that is where I want it to be. And I think everything is okay. Let me try and save. We're having the end tag cannot have attributes. Yes, I've placed it in the end tag. Control Z. So we are going to place it in the queue item for the section, because the other one I want to do something about it. So here, queue item label. let me remove this Q item label. Let me copy it and paste it here. So I want to have it where we are having the beginning of Q item here. Let me have it here and then copy this label and move it above here inside the closing tag of Q item, like that, such that everything will be inside the same section. So let me have it like that. I believe you have seen what we have. When I refresh, again, not displaying perfectly. Is there something that I'm missing? Just a minute. Instead of it messing everything up, I think you can just be able to go ahead and delete some of the things that we have here. So we have Q list, the closing of this, and we have Q item, the beginning of this one. So everything that is in between here, I want it deleted, such that we can be able to just type in. So this is what we are having. So inside our Q list, we are having several items, and of course our VLOOP we are doing in Q item. So here is where we are looping. So let me just extend this and be able to move this one on this side, such that we can just do it again. So what I want us to have, I want us to, inside this Q item, I want us to have the v4, v-4. In this case, we have to-dos, to do, and then index in to-dos, like that, and we can bind the key as a to-do.id, like that. Inside here, I want us to have the button. So in this case, Q-radio, and then we can be able to close it like that. I would like to see how it displays. It's displaying nicely. That is what I want. And then we also want to have Q label. Q item label. Q item label, like that. And here I want us to display our to-do. To-do, like that, because that is how it's represented in our database. And now it's displaying the to-dos. A little bit of a styling issue. I want to maybe put this Q radio inside a different, maybe we can have it like that, but then this to do, we have it inside Q item section, not label. So Q item section, like that. And to see how it looks like now it is aligned properly, because initially it was a little bit aligned badly. And then on top of that, I want us to have another thing, which is closing a delete button. So in this case, I can be able to just down here have another Q item section, Q item section, and here I want us to have an icon. So in this case, a delete icon, and inside here we are going to have q icon again, q hyphen icon, and then I want it to have a name. You can give it a name, and in material icons we have an icon that is called delete underscore icon, like that. You can give it a size. We can make it 32 pixels, like that. You can give it a color. In this case, I want the color to be red, but maybe we can check which color is that. Let me just give it primary. You can be able to try and find out what that color is supposed to be. Then we can be able to go ahead and close it that way. I want us to see how it looks like. It is a little bit so much close to this other one, and I think issues of styling, I'm not going to concern myself so much about it, but inside the Q item section, let me just call it avatar. See if it will be able to give it some, to push it a bit. Yeah, I think that one is nice. And now this is how we have it. So this is our delete button, and then this is our icon, in this case our radio button. So let me do something about the delete button, and then we can be able to work on the other one. For the delete button, I can be able to add a click handler here. So we can have at click, and in this case we can have a method that is called delete to do, like that, and then pass in the ID. So in this case, to do dot ID, like that. And since we are wrapping all of them in Q item, I think it's just perfect. Now for the radio, I had typed in some things initially. Let me do it again because we had issues. So here I'm going to have size. And for the size, I'm going to set it to XL, that is extra large. And then I want it to have a V model, so V model to do dot completed, like that. It's supposed to be dot completed. And then we need to have a value. Let me just push it down such that maybe for this one we can have the values displayed like that. So then after that we are binding the value, and the value is to do dot completed. And then after that, I want us to give different icons when it is checked and when it is not checked. For the label, I think we do not need that one. So I want to when the icon is checked, so checked icon, we can be able to give a condition to do dot completed. So we will check in the completed property in the to do whether it is 1 or 0. So if it is 1, then I want this to do to have a tick, so to just show that it's actually complete. So I'm going to put a question mark and be able to put the tick. So in this case the tick is task underscore alt, like that. So if it is complete, that is what it's going to put. Then I will put a full colon here and put the other condition, which is panorama fish eye. panorama underscore fish underscore I, like that. And I want to copy this and use it for unchecked. So if when we want our radio button not to be checked, I'm going to copy this and paste here. And whatever it is that you are going to check now is unchecked. So unchecked icon. So I'm going to add UN here. And what I'm going to do is change this to 0 and then switch these two. So the first panorama fish eye, I'm going to copy and paste it here. And then the task alt, I'm going to copy and paste it here, like that. I will save. I want us to refresh and see. Now, of course, because these to-dos are the ones that we've just created right now, they are not checked. So they're just okay the way they are. I want to add a click handler. So when we click inside this radio, I want us to do something. So in this case, what I'm going to do is at click, and we can go ahead and say change status, like that. And I want us to pass in the index. And the index is sort of the arrangement of our values from the database. And the first value, of course, you have an index of 0. The second one, you have an index of 1, something of that sort. So for one of these methods, we have the delete to do and we have change status. I want us to handle both the methods up here. And maybe, should I handle them above or below? Maybe here is just okay. So we have function. The first one is delete to do. And here we are passing in the ID. And then of course we have the other method function. And I think I've called it change status, like that. So let me handle the one for deletion of the to do first, and then I will handle the other one after. So here we are going to have router dot delete, and then we are going to pass in the route. So in this case, in Laravel, we can just be able to pass in to-dos, to-dos, like that, and then we can add the ID in the URL, can append the ID, like that. Once we do it that way, we can successfully be able to delete this to-do. But of course, I want us to attach notifications, so I'm going to have curly braces here. I'm just going to copy whatever it is that we have in the success method. So let me just scroll down and I'm going to copy everything on success. All this, I think it goes up to here. I'm going to copy all that. There's no need to type that again. So I'm going to paste. And here the message is going to be to do deleted, just that. So to do deleted, like that. I'm going to save that. And then of course I want to go to our controller and handle that. So I'm going to open the controller method. So to do controller, and then where we are having delete, so I just scroll downwards. Where we are having delete, I'm just going to say to do delete, just that. And now I want us to attempt and see if our method is working. So I'm going to refresh. And now I want to delete this one. Let us wait and see. Let me inspect and see if there is any issue. So network, and I click this, nothing is happening. I can be able to move that handler above the icon such that let us see what we can do about that. We have, oh, I have put the method in a wrong method. I think this, I don't know if it's getting tired or what. Let me remove everything here because it's supposed to be on the delete method, not on change status. So we're going to paste it here and then attempt to do the deletion one more time. When I click it, now you can see it's going to Todo's one and it's saying not found. Is because I have not been able to have the / here. Just that is the reason why we have that problem. I'm going to refresh. And now, if I attempt to delete this fetch water thing, now you can see it's deleted and we have a notification that to do deleted. So for deletion, I think we are set. I want us to work on the change status method, which we have created here. And for this one, we were passing the index. And so I want us to check something. I want us to check whether the property for this index is completed. So inside our to-dos, we have values. And I want to check this value, whether it is completed or not. So if I want to do that, maybe I can do an alert. And I want to check props. And remember, props is what we are having here. So we are getting inside it. So we go to props, then we are going to to-dos, and then we are going to check the index, and then we continue like that. So props dot to-dos, and then we can be able to pass in our index. And then after we pass in our index, then we are supposed to get the value completed like that. So I want to see what it's going to return to us when we click on this radio button. So when I click on it, you can see it's returning 0. So meaning that is the index. And obviously it's 0 because we only have one record in our database because we have deleted the other one. So I want us to do deletion only if props.todo.completed is equals to 0. So let me just modify this. I'm going to say is equals to 0. So if that is the case, then we are going to change the status. So if props.completed is 0, you have that. The other, when it is complete, I'm not going to handle it. And now I want us to go ahead and see what we can be able to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a patch request, router.patch, like that, .patch. And do we have router anyway? We have not even, yes, it has been included by default. I think it was included when we were working on it. You're supposed to include router here for you to use it. If you have issues, maybe your code editor might not be able to assist you, because this one I think is assisting me, but that is now not good because I will not be able to speak about something that it has edited for me. So router.patch, and we are going to visit the method to-dos. And I want us to append in the URL the ID of that property. So in this case, I can just access it props dot to-dos, and then we can pass in the index in a similar fashion, and then dot id, like that, and that we'll be able to access our status. And then of course we can be able also to notify, and I put a comma here, and we can have a similar code that we had here for notification. So again, I'm going to copy from on success everything. I think it goes all the way up until here. I'm going to copy all that. I'm going to paste it here, and here we can say to do modified, but of course we will also be able to check and see that the icon you change. Here I do not want us to reset the to-do because we are not submitting, so this one I'm going to remove. And also on the deletion method, I'm also going to remove this form.reset. It serves no purpose. I'm going to save, and then I want to handle that method in the controller. So I'm going to go to do controller, and then I want to go to the method that is called update, this one here. And since we are passing in to do using root model binding, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do update. And since whatever it is that we are updating, because we are checking if it's completed, whatever it is that we are updating is known to us. We don't need to pass it from the front end. Here I'm going to say completed. We're changing the value of completed from 0 to 1, like that. So completed 1, and I think that will be it. So now I believe we have our application functional. I want to attempt and see if we can be able to create several to-dos, if we can be able to check them to ensure that they are completed, if we can be able to delete. But I also want to do something small which I have forgotten. So let me, because I've remembered it, let me do that. So for the to-do that is complete, it will be checked, but I also want to do a little bit more to it. Instead of just leaving it like that, I also want it crossed. In other words, having a strike through. So let us see how we can be able to do that. We can have a style. We can have style with a text decoration, whereby we be able to pass a line through inside this style. So in this case, if the to-do is completed, I want to add inside this place where we are displaying the to-do. And what I want us to do, I'm going to have style, to bind style, and we are going to have equal signs, and inside here I want us to have something that we call text decoration, text hyphen decoration, and then I want it to have the values. So in this case, if it is completed, you set something else. If it is not, it you set something else. So we are checking to do dot completed. The value is 1. I want it to do a strike through, so line through, line hyphen through, like that. And then else I want it to be, so if that is not the case, I put a full colon and then have the other property. In this case, I'm going to set it to none, so it will not be crossed, something of that sort. So, and then this one also, I think we can be able to give it a little bit of bigger text. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a class of text, subtitle 1, subtitle 1. All these things you can be able to get them from the quasar documentation under typography. You'll be able to get that. So now we have our to-dos, and I just want to add one more. So fetch water, I think that is what I had set initially, and now it's added. So if I click here, now it is changed. There is a tick and it has a strike through. If I click here again, it will not change because we have not handled anything further than just changing it from a to-do that is live to a to-do that is now done. So maybe I can add buy eggs, and then we can also have get groceries. We can add that.